When Disney acquired 20th Century Fox, part of the reason for this was so they could have additional content on the then upcoming streaming service. While Disney Plus does have a decent amount of the 20th Century library, there's still a lot of surprising omissions. There's so many important classics produced by the studio you might think would be logical to have on there, but they have yet to make their way onto the service. Now, it should be noted that different territories have their own catalogs, and I might mention a 20th Century movie that is available in your region, so please let me know if that is the case. To start, a filmmaker who's long had a relationship with 20th Century Fox is Mel Brooks. He directed a number of hit comedies for them in the 70s, including Young Frankenstein. Despite the status of Young Frankenstein as one of the funniest films of all time, it is not on Disney+. I even checked, and it does not appear to be on Hulu in the United States either. Also absent from Disney Plus in my region are Silent Movie, High Anxiety, and History of the World Part 1. It was recently announced that a new Hulu series based on History of the World is in development, so it's possible that could eventually show up. The remake of To Be or Not to Be, produced by and starring Brooks, and The 12 Chairs, an independent film he directed that Fox later acquired the rights to, are also not on Disney+. Robin Hood Men in Tights is available on Disney Plus in Canada, but that only makes the lack of presence of his other work all the more noticeable. Another key player in 20th Century Fox's history is Shirley Temple. She was one of the studio's biggest stars in the 30s and made multiple films for them, and yet none of her movies are anywhere to be found on Disney+. Another big contract player for Fox was Marilyn Monroe, but again, none of her movies are available to watch on D+. I think the lack of Fox classics is a huge disappointment. In fact, there's not a single movie released by Fox during the 1930s included on the service, and the only film from the 1940s is Miracle on 34th Street. That's a significant part of film history missing. There are even movies that won Best Picture you won't find on Disney+. Gentleman's Agreement was notable for being a post-war film that directly addressed anti-Semitism. In fact, most of Hollywood did not want to make the movie, despite the book being a bestseller. However, Darryl Zanuck, who ran Fox at the time, felt it was an important film to make. He was right, and it won the Oscar for Best Picture. Yet, despite its significance, Gentleman's Agreement is not on Disney+. Neither are fellow Best Picture winners How Green Was My Valley and All That Eve. One of 20th Century Fox's biggest innovations was the CinemaScope format, which helped popularize widescreen movies and led to a new industry standard aspect ratio. For that reason, The Robe is one of the most important movies in film history, but it's not on Disney+. Another notable classic 20th Century Fox movie is The Diary of Anne Frank. Telling the famous story of the Jewish girl who hid in an attic in the Netherlands during the Holocaust, it's an excellent film about an event that everyone should learn about. I've mentioned before that Disney Plus could be used as an educational tool, films about historical events like this one being used in classrooms. In the 80s, Disney produced The Color of Money, a sequel to The Hustler. Following their purchase of 20th Century Fox, they now own The Hustler, so it seems like a logical title to add. 20th Century Studios and Disney have recently released new versions of The Call of the Wild and Cheaper by the Dozen. However, before 20th Century Pictures was merged with Fox Film Corporation in 1935, the studio produced an adaptation of Jack London's Call of the Wild, starring Clark Gable, and the first film adaptation of Cheaper by the Dozen was released in 1950 by Fox, so it strikes me as odd that neither of these were put on Disney Plus at the same time as the newest takes on those stories. An interesting title within the 20th Century Fox library is Batman the Movie. Yes, Disney technically owns the rights to the 60s Batman show and its movie. Although some complicated issues had long affected the availability of the television series, no similar problems have come up surrounding the film that brought Adam West's Cape Crusader to the big screen. It would certainly be amusing to see Batman appear on the front page of Disney Plus alongside the Marvel heroes. A charming Fox movie from the 60s that deserves to be rediscovered on the service is Those Magnificent Men in Their Flying Machines. This madcap comedy, directed by Ken Anakin, was a big hit in 1965, but has been largely forgotten in the years since. When Disney did their Investor Day presentation about the streaming service in 2019, they showcased examples of the films and shows that would be included. For one, touting some of the films they acquired in the Fox deal, Breaking Away was included. And yet, as of this recording, Breaking Away is still not on Disney+. This film about teenagers who take up cycling was nominated for Best Picture and is regarded as one of the most inspiring sports films ever made. It would fit right in with the many sports movies and documentaries available to watch on there, so it's surprising Breaking Away is still absent. I mentioned a number of movies that should not have any issue being added, and are likely not on there because Disney Plus is waiting for the right moment. However, there are movies that fall into problems like rights and other things. A good example is Cocoon. That movie has been out of print for years, even before the merger, reportedly due to music rights issues. It's not available to watch digitally, and if you want a physical copy, you would have to search for it and likely buy it for a high price. Adding to this frustration is the sequel, Cocoon the Return, is on Disney Plus in several territories. I'm surprised Ron Howard has not been made aware of this and sorted something out, as you would think he would want one of his most successful films to be easily accessible. There's also The Abyss, but what appears to be keeping that from being widely available is actually James Cameron. Believe it or not, this movie has never gotten a release on Blu-ray, and that's mostly because of Cameron being focused on the Avatar movies right now. He has supervised and approved a transfer, but for whatever reason the new discs have not been released yet, nor is it streaming on Disney Plus anywhere in the world. The upcoming release of Avatar: The Way of Water will likely renew interest in Cameron's other water-themed science fiction movies, so hopefully Disney and Cameron use the opportunity to promote the new restoration of The Abyss and make it widely available for everyone to see. One film I'm curious about is The Pagemaster. It's not a great animated film in my opinion, but still one I imagine a decent amount of people have some nostalgia for. Unlike Cocoon and The Abyss, The Pagemaster is widely available on physical media and digital rental services, courtesy of Disney. However, I wonder if the reason it has not shown up on Disney Plus is because it's a Turner Entertainment production. While 20th Century Fox handled North American release of the film, Turner was responsible for international distribution, so Warner Brothers does have rights to The Pagemaster in several territories. WB also apparently has the television rights to The Pagemaster, and I'm curious if that also includes streaming rights, even though those obviously were not on Turner's mind when signing the distribution deals back in 1994. Of course, it's worth mentioning that Disney Plus is still only a few years old, so I'm sure many more films in the 20th Century Fox library will be added in the future, and I look forward to finding out what they are. Let me know in the comments which Fox movies you think deserve to appear on there, and I'll see you next time.